I would not call
And
them
stop.
friends. I'd call them... Oh, damn. That's it.
All right.
Okay. That's all you get from me in the movie Ghostbusters. I would not call them friends. We do not keep anything out. Make sure that you do come into that knowing that there's always going to be a spoiler. Watch with us so it's not a spoiler to you.
Hi everybody, welcome to the third episode of season 2 of 2Chicks 2Cents. If you've never met us before, we are two friends who just casually chat about movies and TV shows. And if you missed any parts of season 1, a really good one for you to check out is episode 8. That is where Delilah and I talk about a fun movie. Actually, it wasn't fun for Delilah, but a movie called I Care a Lot. I think it's a great one to start with. Check it out and give us your opinions. It was a little bit of a controversial movie, and we had some awesome, polarizing opinions about it. So check us out and let us know what you think. So this episode, we're going to be talking about Back to the Future, and at the end, we are going to give our little 30-second blurbs about the other movies that we picked in the last episode.
If you missed last week's episode, we talked about the movie John Carpenter's They Live. If you want to check out our take on that movie, all the links are going to be down below for you. All of our socials, all that stuff. Follow us everywhere. Chat with us. Give us your next movie that we should review. Don't forget, we are still watching the show Knight Rider, the original, the old one. We're just going to be reviewing the first season, but if you want to watch all of them, you go for it because we probably will too. Let's get into our description of the movie Back to the Future. In the 1985 sensation Back to the Future, teenager Marty McFly is accidentally sent back to 1955 in a time machine built by his eccentric friend Dr. Emmett Brown. Without the necessary fuel to travel back, Marty is stranded in the past. Culture shocked and disoriented, Marty runs into his father and accidentally disrupts his parents' first meeting. With time running out and his very existence in jeopardy, he must set things right by helping his parents fall in love and find a way back to the future before it's too late. Back to the Future is a timeless classic about destiny and the ripple effect of our choices.
So, if you were with us for last episode, or if you caught any of our social media, you know that Delilah was not excited to watch this movie. But it's mostly because, you know, we both had seen it a lot, or there was a lot of hype around it. And so it's not that we don't like it. It was just not very, exciting. But I am curious. You hadn't seen it in a while, Delilah. So how was it? What was it like watching it again?
It was actually surprising watching it again. Good. I didn't remember a lot of stuff, so it did feel like I was semi-watching like a new something, and it was good. It was better than I remember it was. And since we watched 2 movies this time, and I usually watch whatever we're doing for the podcast on Saturday, so it's fresh in my mind. But so I watched both movies that I was supposed to watch, like one after another, and I actually enjoyed Back to the Future more than I enjoyed Ghostbusters. So.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that you liked it. I also liked it. I was, chuckling and giggling all throughout, and it was really nice to see Doc. I love him. He's so great. All of his facial expressions, just everything about him.
He was my favorite part.
Yeah. So, what kind of rating would you give it, just to start off?
Okay, so I would give it like a 7.5. So I'd watch it again, not anytime soon. So I watched it on Netflix, and Netflix has it expiring soon. I think at the end of this month, because they have all 3, I think that they're all leaving. So I will, before they all leave, watch the other 2. That's how I felt. Like a 7.5. I will, because I just watched the first one, I'll watch the other 2 before they expire on Netflix, and then I will watch them again probably in like 7 7 years.
That sounds about right. I also, after watching the first one, especially the way it ends, I really wanted to watch the next one right away. I didn't have the time to do it, but I definitely felt that way. And I will also check those out before they're gone. And
if you want to watch Back to the Future, it's on Netflix. It is expiring at the end of the month.
yes, yes. I kind of hope they don't touch that one as far as, remakes and stuff, because it's
Yeah,
kind
and
of
then if they
trending
were
now
to touch
to,
it, I hope that it's like completely like its own something else.
yeah,
Like
don't try and get the
maybe
old
in the Back to
cast.
the Future world, yeah, don't get the old cast, don't like reference them, not in the same town, like just in the same world, but not to do with the original people. Because I do feel like they finished it, like they did
Yeah.
enough. There's 3 movies, like they did enough. We saw them enough. Like
Yeah.
it's okay.
Usually, time travel movies really stress me out. I hate the concept of creating time loops where you can't go
Hmm.
back to exactly where you were, or you've changed something and now everything's different. It just kind of makes me feel that's a similar feeling that people get when they have homesickness. Like you travel, you're out of the country, and you are there for a while. I don't know if this ever happened to you, but then like I don't know, nothing's the same. You can't get what you want, and it kind of ruins the experience a little bit.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's kind of usually how I feel when I watch like really in-depth time travel ones. But this one did a really great job of keeping it all lighthearted, funny, and not too stressful in that way for me.
Yes. But honestly, I feel like that's kind of the vibe for most of the movies before the 2000s and everything. Most of the movies are fairly lighthearted. Like, that was nice. I do like that it didn't take too long to figure out what was going on, like, for the character. Because, like, we're sitting, we're watching it. Oh shit, you just did this, you just messed up, like, whatever. He goes to Doc, he convinces him of what's happening, and right away Doc knows what to do. That's what I need. That's what I need from my main characters. I don't need you stumbling around, fucking shit up, and not doing anything to fix it until the last like 5 minutes. Like, I'm very glad that that was how it was.
I noticed,
But Doc was my favorite.
yes.
He just like whenever he would say like a one liner or something, like looks sort of at the camera, or like it like he goes, he said, "Oh, we got to get you back to the future," and he like stares like right at the camera and everything. I'm like, that was funny. That was I did really
I
like.
did notice that in some of the older movies, they also really know how to like drag out an ending or like kind of mess
Oh
everything
yeah,
up, like to
yeah.
just, the cord not being connected anymore.
Everything's good. Then a tree falls on the
Yeah,
cord, and
yeah.
then he goes up.
He
He almost
climbs up
falls off the
there.
building 2 or 3 times. He gets it. Then he's got to slide down. It's stuck in the tree. He gets electrocuted. Homeboy's car doesn't work. How long is this scene? Like, there's no way I wouldn't even been surprised if throughout all of that, like, stuff happening, he, like, tripped on a shoelace, and then he landed on a rock. It's just like when we were talking about in Total Recall, when he's like, it takes so long falling down the hill. Like, they really know how to drag something out. Oh
Yes.
my gosh.
You gotta
I
milk
don't
it.
feel like movies and shows do that anymore.
Which
I'm like,
honestly,
get
like,
to it.
there's some elements of it that's funny now, but like
Hmm.
sometimes when you're watching it for the first time, it's like torture to me. If
Hmm.
they draw it out too long, it's like, just come on, like that was enough the first 3 times, like
Hmm.
I do appreciate that they don't do it as much now.
I was pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoyed it, and I'm sure the audience is not going to be surprised at all, because Back to the Future is another one of those cult classics. Like, they still talk about it at Comic Cons, like, to this day. The cast is still like held in very high regard. It was nice that I had taken enough time in between seeing it the last time to where like I could enjoy and appreciate it this time. I did like that he kind of got his comeuppance,
Oh
and I
yeah.
did really like that with the character Biff. Like, he was picking on his dad, and his dad was like such a lame, and he was just really letting everybody like walk all over him. And I remember, like, as I was watching, I like out loud was like, who raised him? Why are they letting him be this much of a punk? Like, help your kid, like, teach him some stuff, like,
You mean
instill
Biff?
confidence in him. No, the dad, I forget his name. What's his dad's name? McFly? George, I
Yeah,
think.
George.
the dad. So then Biff was like hella picking on him in the first future as an adult, and then hella picking on him like in the past. And then so I do like that he finally stood up to him and he changed that meeting of his parents and his father's relationship and their whole family's livelihood in the future. I'm like, that's great. You guys deserve that. You guys were all very unhappy and all of that changed just from your dad punching out a bully. That's great. And the bully deserved it. And now he's a punk. And that's what he gets. He shouldn't be a mean person.
Yeah. I think my favorite part was with George McFly when Marty put Van Halen on in his earbuds and told him to go or he would melt his brain. Yeah, I think that was probably my favorite part. I don't know. Did you see him in that one movie where he was kind of like that Willow guy with the rats? You know how there's like a fictional.
So whenever
like,
I saw
character...
him, all I could think of was him in Charlie's Angels.
Yeah,
and
I love
he's like
that
really
too.
creepy and he sniffs the hair. That's what that actor, what's his name? That's so funny because like I'm always thinking of what other people see whenever they see like an actor or whatever. George, his name is Crispin Glover.
Crispin Glover. Glover
that's the only
name
thing
is
I
very
think
popular in Hollywood.
It's very popular.
Yeah.
There's like
three at
things
least I
people
know,
can
yeah.
think of with that. That's the movie that I think of with him. I don't know if that's the same one that you're talking about.
No, same creepy vibes,
in my
but
head.
he like plays that flute and controls the rats or whatever. He was like a serial killer, I think. I think it was called Willow or not Willow, something with a
Willard.
Willard.
I'm seeing it right now. I don't think I've ever seen it.
I don't remember anything
funny,
about it except it was him, and we all got a kick out of him in Charlie's Angels. He was like our favorite character because we thought that was so funny that he did that.
Also, he's in Like Mike. I used to love that movie growing up.
Oh my god, I know I've seen it.
I think he's not Stuart Little, but he's the little boy in Stuart Little, and it's about like he gets Michael Jordan shoes and he's got powers or whatever. But that guy, Crispin, he's like in charge of their orphans, the orphan house or whatever, and he's like mean to him. But yeah, he always plays like a creep or something.
He's got the look.
Honestly, if I was an actor, I'd probably do that too. Those roles are probably more fun than being the hero every time.
Yeah, and it's almost, especially like in Charlie's Angel, like he was the antagonist, but he was kind of also the comic relief.
Yeah,
you know?
He definitely was. In movies like Back to the Future, I feel like just most 80s, 90s, the electronics and like them building stuff and everything, it kind of gave you the sense like, because they were like made out of household things that you'd see and then they turned it into something else. At least for me growing up watching these sort of things, it always gave me the feeling that, oh, I could do that. And so I would be tinkering all the time, like making something or whatever, because I saw a kid, like the Little Rascals, I saw them build a car and I'm like, oh, it's very simple. And so like I would always be like tinkering or building something, and I feel like this movie reminded me of that because again, they're using household things for this DeLorean and all this stuff, and it was just like a nostalgic feeling every time like watching all of these movies, because like I also watch Ghostbusters and seeing them turning regular household things into these extraordinary things that can do this. I don't know, it just always, I love that, instilled that confidence in me as a kid watching these older movies, or which were not old at the time. I'm like, oh, it's that easy to make that? No problem. I got it. Like, let me do it. And I do feel like movies today don't have that vibe. Like, you have to have $1 million to have this computer or whatever it is that you're needing, and like it's not, things are not made out of household things. It's not that easy. And then also, like, I recently watched The Goonies, and they're just regular kids, and one of them, the Asian one, I forget his name, he would make all of these different things out of household things, and it was completely normal, and all the kids know how to do it, you know? Like, I don't know, I feel like they don't do that really anymore.
I think it's probably a marketing tactic too, you know, because Hollywood, you gotta sell stuff because nobody's buying movies anymore, so you have to have advertisers sponsor your film, and so then you have to have their stuff, and they don't want you to know that you can just make this thing at home. They want you to buy this thing now. And
then in Back to the Future, like, you could clearly tell that JCPenney's was a sponsor of this movie.
I did
because
not.
When they're doing when they're doing the which I feel like was a little bit, wasn't culturally sensitive, when he's being chased by, what is it, the Libyans or something. I don't think that they're attire and attitude and accent and all that stuff, I don't think that it matched specifically any one like Middle Eastern country. They just kind of threw some shit together and put it in a movie, and I was like, I don't think that that's accurate, and I think this might be like, of course, this day and age, like you don't do stuff like that, but okay. But anywho, that whole scene, and they're driving around the mall parking lot, and in the background of every shot, JCPenney's.
Oh,
like
okay.
every single shot, you're seeing JCPenney's behind.
It's hilarious that I didn't even notice.
Yeah, and same with Calvin
anyway,
Klein.
Yeah,
I think I don't know why I notice those things always in movies, but I'm like, oh, because they so clearly are saying this brand that is an actual brand. I'm like, they must have invested money in this movie.
His underwear was such a light purple that I was like, was that intentional, or was that like he washed the whites in like a dark load and it just dyed his underwear that color? I was so
no
shocked.
clue. I feel like probably maybe they just had white Calvin Kleins for him, and because the line was, oh, your underwear are purple or whatever, they probably tried to dye him real quick on set, like they had the costume department dye, and they just didn't get that dark, probably. Because honestly, in my head, I'm thinking of like Calvin Klein underwears, and I just can't picture a men's purple.
Right.
So, but I mean, maybe back in the 80s they had them, but I don't think they have them now.
Yeah.
You never told me what was your rating. What was your rating? How'd you feel watching it?
Oh, I think it was like around a 7 or 8. It was kind of like, I would say 7.5 because I couldn't decide between a 7 and an 8. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. It was very nostalgic. It was fun. It made me want to watch the other ones. And then it was nice seeing it like wow, this was a really, really fresh and new concept. And they did such a good job with where the story goes and what happened. Just the whole thing with interrupting his parents' meeting on accident, and everything flowed so perfectly and so realistically in a scenario like that. It just makes you wonder how such a perfect idea came to somebody or a group. I don't know who wrote it or how they did it, but I'm always curious, like, how did you think of that? It's so creative. And then, like you said, cast, every single person was perfect. And yeah, it was just all around like really fun setting, fun to see that time period, because I'm sure at that time there were a lot of adults watching it who could really relate to the 50s and all of those like changes in the way that the punk kids and their little slang and all that. And so it was just really cool to see that, and then to also think about how we think of the younger kids and what they're saying and what they're wearing. And yeah, very enjoyable, very fun.
If there's any last takes on the movie Back to the Future?
I don't think I have anything else to say about it. I mean, it was just all around fun. Glad we watched it. Thank you, Preston, for putting this in the jar. And even though we weren't excited, we both had a really good time.
I think that's something that in watching like these older movies, I hope continues. We've been pleasantly surprised thus far. And then also, I think it's been nice, like being older, watching some of these things that we've seen before, so that we can truly like give it its flowers and appreciate the work that was put into it and like the actual story. And also, there's something to be said for watching something as a kid and your take and your view and what you got from it, and then watching it again as an adult, because it's always completely different. And that's really interesting.
I really liked what you shared about, you know, being a kid and making stuff.
Oh, I was really always tinkering.
So, since we're all done talking about Back to the Future, we have a very exciting new thing we're going to try, where we do our 30-second reviews on the movies that we drew for each other last week. We didn't draw for each other. That Delilah drew for both of us. So we're going to get into that right now.
To make it a little bit more fun, we are going to time each other, and you only get 30 seconds, and hopefully you get everything out that you wanted to say, or that you even have enough to fill 30 seconds, and we'll see how it goes.
All right. Ready, set, go.
Okay, so I got the movie Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters. This movie, I would probably give it a solid 5. You know, every holiday season you kind of end up watching it again. Sometimes they have done a lot of remakes. Some of the remakes were good, some were not. It's about, I wouldn't even say that they're friends. These guys are so mean to each other. And then the last guy doesn't even come in until well over the middle of the movie. So I would not call them friends. I'd call them, oh damn. That's it.
All right.
Okay. That's all you get from me in the movie Ghostbusters. I would not call them friends.
I
Okay.
watched that last night with you, and I had so much fun. I loved it. I would give that one an 8.
I would say I really liked the scene when the lady's in the chair and then the monster busts through to like get her. Because I'm like, there's somebody in that chair doing that.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Well, it's Tiffany's turn now.
Yes, my turn now.
Okay, and go.
All right, I watched Footloose. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. But so there was nothing wrong with the plot. They did a really great job with the character development. It was a very serious topic about religious paranoia about, a very common thing. And I didn't like that, but you put the pressure on and I can't talk. Okay.
I think that we should keep this segment because that was pretty fun. Obviously, there's a lot more to say about Ghostbusters and Footloose, but they're good movies. Check them out.
Yes.
That's all we're going to say about them.
I do want to clarify. I gave it a 7, but I still didn't like it.
I gave Ghostbusters a 5, but it is one of those movies that you check out every other holiday season.
Oh, one thing about Ghostbusters I did want to say, there were a couple really big laugh out loud moments for me, for very subtle one-liners from Bill Murray in the beginning. And they're like, look at the stacking of the books. They're like, just like this time period. And then he looks at it, and I don't remember exactly how he said it, but it was basically like, yeah, since no human would stack books like this. I died.
I do love, satire, sarcasm. I do love it. So those little things, I was like, okay.
Inside chuckle.
I feel like they did great for the year that it was shot in and everything. I loved all of I don't even know if it's called CGI back then or not.
Oh yeah, whatever they did. Their special effects.
Yeah, all of it. Great job. And then of course I really like that movies back in the day were more so about artistry and you can really see the work that they put into it with the makeup, the prosthetics, building characters, all that stuff. You can see people really spent a lot of hours and hard work and made these things by hand, versus now it's more so computers and AI and stuff. And not to say that coding and all that stuff is not hard, but I'm just saying it's really cool to see the artistry and know the time that went behind it, versus seeing AI and computer things or whatever. It's I'm seeing it, but since I don't understand that stuff, I'm not understanding the amount of hours it probably took you to make that.
Yeah, you just reminded me of something that I noticed when it was right before the very last battle, and there was that big earthquake, and then the street came up, and then the cop car went down.
I think it's Universal Studios.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, that is so cool how they did that. They built that, and they, mechanically caused all of that to happen. I was like, that is so cool. So cool.
They really did a great job.
So we are all done for the day, but we are going to do our drawings first. And first we're starting with ours. Yes, mine and Delilah's picks. We're going to go from our jar. Yep.
Yes, we're going from our jar. This is going to be the movie that we are talking about next week. Our podcast will be about...
Yes, because we're still doing another 30-second drawing.
Yes, so. We did really like the 30-second drawing, so I think that we will continue doing.
Yeah.
Hook! Oh, we were talking about the movie Hook, 1991. Sweet. That's exciting. Of course, I've seen the movie a bunch of times, but I love it. So I'm very excited to watch it again. And very excited to see some new stuff. Very excited to go hang out with the Lost Boys. Rufio. I love
Yay. That. I picked this one, and I picked it because it was a childhood favorite, and I really, since we're doing 80s and 90s, I really wanted at least one with Robin Williams. So I had a list of my favorites, which was Jumanji, Hook, and Mrs. Doubtfire. And it was a really close call between Mrs. Doubtfire and Hook, and I ended up going with Hook.
So it's so funny because Mrs. Doubtfire used to be one of my favorites growing up, but I was saying, seeing seeing things from kid eyes versus adult eyes now, Mrs. Doubtfire is so problematic for me now. Like,
Oh.
I could not imagine if, like, my husband was a deadbeat or whatever, like, you know, not caring about any of us. I kick him out. I set clear boundaries with him and my kids. And then he dresses up as a woman and sneaks back into my life, into my home, disregarding everything that I've said with my,
And sabotaging your ad like that?
I would have
Yes.
some problems.
Yes.
So,
did you ever see on social media they made like a little clip of that as a horror movie? Like they changed the music and did the preview of it.
I could see it that way.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it changed my
once
view
you
of it too.
watch enough Lifetime, I could see it. But anywho, do you want me to draw for you or for myself first?
You. Draw for you first.
Okay, from our recommendations jar, I'm going to draw my next 30-second clip movie. We need to think of a name for that segment. If you have a name idea, drop it below.
Yes.
My next movie is going to be...
Hot Shot.
Hot Shot? Who's Billy?
Billy is my best friend's husband.
Oh. Well, I don't know what Hot Shot is, 1981.
I'd never heard of it either. I might watch it with you again. I think it's a comedy.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It's a parody of Top Gun, in which talented but unstable fighter pilot must overcome the ghost of his father and save a mission sabotaged by greedy weapons. It's directed by Jim Abrams. That name sounds familiar.
J.J. Abrams is another director. That's probably why.
Oh, that's probably why. Yeah. Well, it kind of looks like just like those parody movies. I think there's one called Spaceballs and like like that kind of movie.
Naked Gun. See. I like that. I like that they're making fun of Top Gun because I hate that movie.
I'm not a huge Tom Cruise fan, so
yeah, it's both two things I don't like watching: Tom Cruise and Navy. Actually, Tom Cruise is all right. He doesn't really bother me that much. Like Mission Impossible, that's all right. It doesn't bother me. I'm not a super fan, but I also hate watching Navy movies. Yeah.
Understandably so. Yeah. Okay, let's draw for you. Yay. Your 30-second movie clip is going to be about... I can never figure out what the camera is.
It's upside down. Pretty Woman.
Pretty Woman. Okay, I love that
funny.
movie.
I didn't want to watch this one.
Oh, this is really getting us out of our comfort zone and stuff. You keep getting movies that you're...
I have seen this. Yes, I have seen this, and I also wasn't impressed. I think my mom loves this movie. It was like her favorite movie, and I remember her talking about it all when we were kids, but we weren't like allowed to watch it yet. And she's like, when you're older, when you can, we'll watch it together. And then I remember watching it and being like, why do you like this?
This is what
I didn't say that. I didn't say that, but I just was like, okay, you know. So maybe that's why, you know, my expectations weren't met as a kid. And so probably. I'll see now with my adult eyes what. And it's not like I was like a kid. I was probably in high school, I think, when we watched it.
I feel like I've always liked the movie fine. I like Julia Roberts. I never had too much to say about it. I did she's in a movie called Erin Brockovich, and I feel like she has the same style in that movie and in Pretty Woman. But I love that movie. Even as a kid, I used to watch that movie, and it's so not a kid movie. But I used to just love that movie so much, and I thought that she was really great in that one. So that's
Erin
probably
Brockovich?
why I liked her.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen that,
I love
actually.
that movie. It's 2000. Maybe if we do it 2000s.
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely. A really good movie, and it's like a true story.
So, we have a lot to watch this week. Hopefully, you're joining in with us. If you have already seen them, let us know what you thought. Is there anything else you'd like to say, Delilah, before we go about all the movies we've picked?
No, I'm excited. Yeah, just join us next week for the movie Hook, and hopefully you liked our 30-second movie reviews, and we're going to keep them up because it was kind of fun to do.
Yeah.
And all your links are below for you.
The 30-second thing is harder than it looks.
Much harder than we thought it was going to be.
Anyway, we'll check out some of our other episodes if you haven't already. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we will catch you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.